As we set forth on this adventure, I must warn you that the tale ahead explores some profound themes. The tale delves into the rich tapestry of new motherhood, the delicate threads of family dynamics, and the stormy seas of infidelity. If these topics stir unease, you might consider stopping your viewing here. In the stillness of that morning, I discovered myself in the kitchen, my fingertips dancing over the cool surface of the granite countertop. The refrigerator's hum echoed through the room, carrying an unusual intensity that seemed to weave a tale of its own. Maybe it was the quiet that wrapped around the world, or maybe it was the weight of everything that had led to this house, this life, this moment where all seemed to align perfectly. For what felt like an eternity, the notion of study danced like a mirage in the landscape of my life. It was just Noah and me, weaving through the tight spaces of small apartments, stretching every dollar to its utmost limits. In the quiet of the night, I recall those moments spent on a worn couch, my gaze drawn to the stack of unpaid bills, a silent wish in my heart that he would remain oblivious to the fear that held me captive. Yet he remained ever watchful. From a tender age, Noah had a remarkable gift for seeing straight into my soul. He would curl up in my lap, wrap his arms around me, and offer comforting words that everything would turn out just fine. And in a manner that defies explanation, it always was. Noah's father had been a dear friend of mine, and upon his passing, Noah found his way to my home. There was no dramatic showdown, no elaborate farewell. A man who slipped away from our lives, leaving nothing but silence in his wake. I frequently contemplated if traces of him would surface in Noah as he grew older. Yet Noah revealed himself to be entirely unique. He was devoid of that same coldness, or the desire to escape. He stayed on. We took our time, savoring each moment. In those times, the world around us felt rather confined. In a realm where the very walls murmured secrets, we soon realized that keeping them was a fruitless pursuit. And thus, we let the idea slip away like sand through our fingers. Our conversation flowed like a winding river, touching upon a multitude of subjects. I answered his questions, no matter how uncomfortable they felt. He shared with me thoughts and feelings that many children would choose to hide away from their parents. It was just how the tapestry of fate was woven to reveal itself. We supported each other, and I feel that connection has lasted through time. As he journeyed through the years, it was truly remarkable to witness the magnitude of his growth. I never felt the subtle shift that signaled his departure. While his friends embarked on their playful escapades, Noah decided to remain at home with me. He relished the moments spent together, weaving through conversations and exchanging jokes that were so delightfully awful they somehow always brought a smile to my face. I found it quite delightful, too. His presence enveloped me, a soothing warmth that I held dear. At times, it may feel like a great weight upon your shoulders. Perhaps that sheds light on my deep dive into the world of fitness. It rose above the surface, revealing deeper truths. A wave of power surged through me, igniting a belief that I could confront anything that awaited on the horizon. With the dawn of each new day, I welcomed the cadence of running, immersed in the power of lifting weights, and started to care for myself in the way I genuinely deserved. It turned out to be quite impactful. A transformation unfolded in my well-being. I seemed more captivating. Onlookers gathered. Once upon a time, there was a simple note. I watched intently. That confidence awakened a spark deep within me. It kindled a yearning that went beyond the simple act of surviving. In my possession now lies this house, a dwelling that offers generous space, a wealth of light, and a tranquil atmosphere. Environment. I promised myself to release any guilt that lingered around it. I achieved it. Noah was destined for this moment. In due course, I came into possession of the hot tub. At first glance, it appeared rather ludicrous to allocate such a hefty amount for something so lavish. Yet, after all I had faced, it felt like the right conclusion. I shared the news with Noah before making my move. With a warm smile, He urged me to embrace a little indulgence. To my astonishment, I discovered that he appeared aloof, while my emotions surged profoundly within me. On that inaugural night, I settled in, staying there until my fingers took on the appearance of prunes. It was as if irrefutable proof that I had made my entrance. As the weekend drew near, my anticipation to spend it with Noah became overwhelming. I gently proposed the delight it offered, promising him it would ease his muscles after his workout. He persisted in brushing it off, asserting that he probably wouldn't deem it valuable. Yet, as I pressed on once more after dinner, he finally relented. That should have been the conclusion of it all. What was meant to be a simple pause for tranquility. As I reached into the drawer for my swimsuit, a moment of hesitation washed over me, not due to the fabric itself, but rather the realization of how long it had been since I truly embraced the comfort of my own skin. Neither wrong nor right, simply unique. I paused before the mirror, examining my reflection with a depth I usually reserve for the most captivating tales. Adjusting the straps with care. With a tender touch, I caressed my hair. I comforted myself with the thought that my excitement was simply for the hot tub. It was unwise to entertain any other idea. Yet, a subtle tremor danced through my hands as I carried our drinks out into the open air. The night wrapped itself in an unusual warmth, while the breeze softly murmured through the air. I cautiously, with careful consideration, I carried 2 glasses outside, ever mindful of the possibility of spills, and gently set them upon the edge of the hot tub. Noah lounged against the smooth curve of the tub, embodying a sense of ease that suggested this was a ritual he had mastered through time. He seemed to carry an effortless calm, a quality I hadn't seen in quite a while. Shoulders at ease, eyes gently wandering without a clear target. I assured you it would be enchanting, I said, as I entered the soothing warmth of the water, allowing the steam to envelop me. The tranquility, the calmness, it made me feel oddly acknowledged, even if it was merely by the gentle dance of my own reflection. His gaze flickered upward for a fleeting instant before descending back to the bubbling depths beneath. I pretended to be indifferent as I allowed my toes to graze the water's surface. With a thoughtful swirl of his drink, he admitted, "I must confess, it surpassed my expectations. Yet, I will hold on to this spot. The jets appear to be perfectly placed." "Ah, is that truly the case?" As I descend into the water, I find myself reclining, embraced by the soothing warmth that surrounds me. But do not allow yourself to drift too far into comfort. That is my domain, and I shall take it back. If you take too long, you might just miss out, he replied with a playful smile, with a heavy sigh escaping my lips. A smile unexpectedly danced across my face. It had been a while since we found ourselves in this moment, exchanging words, joyful sounds, and a feeling of comfort. It stirred up memories of those evenings, when we would snuggle on the couch, lost in the joy of classic sitcoms. His feet would inevitably inch their way over to my side, prompting me to yield and let him sprawl out comfortably. This was the sole element that seemed to stand apart. Maybe it was the oppressive heat, or the way the water made every movement feel slow and heavy. Perhaps it was the way his shoulders broadened against the limits of the tub, hinting that he was nearly too big for in the vast expanse of the cosmos. With a nod, I responded, drawing closer. "If you choose to stay still, and grant me the chance to behold what renders this place truly extraordinary." A shift in our seats brought forth a tide of regret that enveloped me. In the blink of an eye, the jets honed in on all the ideal spots, the lower back, shoulders, and legs, weaving a tale of relief and rejuvenation. He shot me a look that hinted he knew exactly what he had let go. "I told you," he remarked, lifting. He raised his glass for another sip. "It has slipped from your grasp. Would you like to make a bet?" I leaned in, pretending to reach for his arm, but he pulled away, laughter bubbling up from his lips. In a heartbeat, we discovered ourselves engaged in a lively tussle. Water spilled over the edges as I lunged for his arm, only for him to skillfully bat my hands away. With a knowing smile, he lifted his drink, safeguarding it from any potential danger. From the shadows, you rise triumphant with warmth and grace. Come, take a seat and settle in. With a spark of anticipation, I found myself responding, and before I knew it, I was seated beside him, closer than ever before. The atmosphere transformed, not with tension, but with a sense of the unknown. Something had shifted in the space between us, an unspoken transformation, and I couldn't quite put into words. My heart trembled, yet I held my ground. He did not either. I comforted myself with the thought that it was of little importance. A gentle embrace, a soft caress, and a deep connection that envelops the soul. And so it was. Nothing more to unravel. The rhythmic pulse of my heartbeat resonated in my ears as I shifted, yearning for a touch of solace. With every step I took, the truth unfolded before me, revealing itself more clearly with each passing moment. "Forgive me," he interrupted out of the blue. His voice danced softly, quivering with a hint of doubt. "It was never my plan to embark on that journey. It is entirely appropriate," I cut in, working to keep my composure casual. "It's simply the jets. Relax and let go." He seemed to carry an air of discomfort, as if the world around him was a stage he was unprepared to perform on. His face bloomed with a vivid hue, and he turned his eyes away from my own. A flicker of guilt washed over me. Yet beneath that surface, there lingered something deeper, a whisper of untold truths waiting to be unveiled. The way he looked at me in that moment filled me with a sense of wonder and excitement, filled with trepidation and doubt. In that moment, it felt like I had unearthed a concealed power within myself, a force that had lain in wait until that precise second. I remarked, breaking the silence. "This situation could have been avoided had you just given my seat back." He let out a soft chuckle, and for a moment, the tension eased, though it still hung in the atmosphere. He quietly slipped away from beneath me, whispering something about the need for another drink, and gracefully emerged from the tub. I watched him leave, my eyes lingering longer than they should have. As he slipped away into the shadows, I released a breath tinged with doubt. What was that? I leaned back against the edge, my being pulsating with a vibrant energy that refused to fade. Perhaps it was harmless. Maybe it wasn't. Regardless of everything, it remained in my mind, a constant presence that refused to fade. That pivotal instant disturbed me. His wide-eyed gaze reflected my own bewilderment, not a fervor, but a trepidation of something unarticulated beginning to take hold. As he finally stepped into the light, the moment had already faded, but my thoughts continued to dance in the shadows. I found myself drawn back to it, reflecting on its significance, wondering if it was as untainted as I had led myself to believe, or if it carried an entirely different essence beneath the surface. I appreciate you joining me on this journey up to this point. This narrative has not been the easiest too. I appreciate your openness to listen, and I'm truly thankful for it. If this video speaks to you, or if you know someone who might find value in the insights I'm sharing, I encourage you to take a moment to click that like button and subscribe. It genuinely inspires me to keep sharing narratives like this, reminding me that I'm not alone on this journey. Let us turn our attention back to the matter before us. I comforted myself with the thought that it held no real importance. It was undeniably a peculiar moment. Cozy vibes, delightful drinks, and a treasure trove of memories shared in a snug little nook. It was simply there. As the first light of dawn crept in, I woke, my thoughts dancing with the events that had unfolded. His gaze held mine, a tapestry woven with nerves, embarrassment, and perhaps a whisper of something more profound beneath the surface. In that moment, I found myself wrapped in a charming blend of exhilaration, admiration, and an unquenchable thirst for discovery. It was never my aim to playfully provoke him. At first, not in the slightest. Yet the idea lingered, captivating in its hug. It started with a soft murmur. As I set about the morning ritual of preparing breakfast, I discovered myself adorned in nothing but a tank top, free from the constraints of a bra. He remained silent. Yet, I glimpsed a look that was elusive and hard to decipher. I felt the twinge of uncertainty, caught in a web of doubt, questioning whether it was genuine or merely a reflection of my own thoughts flowing through me. The thrill transformed into a familiar pattern. Leggings have stepped into the spotlight, replacing sweatpants in our daily attire. Low-cut tops have taken the place of hoodies. I bent down to gather items with greater care. With each passing moment, I found myself extending my stretches just a bit longer. Acutely aware of his gaze upon me, I sought out every opportunity to glide past him, drawing just a touch closer than necessary. I comforted myself with the thought that it held no threat, just a game. Yet with each session, my affection for it grew ever stronger as Christmas drew near. A palpable change lingered in the atmosphere. The air around us thickened, charged with an undeniable energy. It surpassed the realm of simple attire and passing looks. The wit was what drew me in. His playful banter danced around us, teasing the boundaries, eager to unveil just how far I would let it all unravel. "Be cautious, Mum," he remarked one evening as I bent over the couch in my leggings and tank top, prepared to sprinkle a little happiness into someone's life. "Oh," I exclaimed, my eyes dramatically rolling in response. One could easily think that after 2 decades, a sense of familiarity would have lingered awkwardly in the space between us. It does not suggest that I am devoid of insight. That brought me to a standstill. He spoke it with a casual ease, as though it held no weight at all. Indeed, it was. A tide of discomfort surged within me, and I turned my eyes away before he could catch a flicker of my true feelings. Once again, the hot tub became the center of discussion after dinner one evening. This time, the inquiry lingered unspoken, as if the answer was already woven into the fabric of the moment. Just as I was about to speak, he quickly collected the drinks and towels. I selected a pink bikini, bolder than the one I wore before, and stood waiting for him outside. Upon his entrance, his eyes flickered downward for a brief instant, yet it was enough to light up my face with a smile. "Whoa, are you certain that swimsuit is secure?" With a playful grin, he tossed out a quip, aiming to maintain a cheerful atmosphere. I chuckled. Yet, there was something in that remark that lingered in my mind far longer than it ought to have. "Oh, put an end to this." A soft laugh escaped my lips as I slipped beneath the surface of the water. "I would never desire to bring you any anguish. Believe me, the experience would be much more harrowing for you." The words hung in the air, weightier than the mist rising from the water's surface. Neither of us took a step to advance. Yet, the tension pulsed in the air that lay between us. With the playful remark about switching seats again, I tossed the suggestion into the air, but he swiftly brushed it aside. "Certainly not," he declared. "Once more, we find ourselves here, not after the events of our last encounter. What unfolded during our last meeting?" I leaned in, tilting my head, eager to catch every whisper of the tale unfolding before me. He spoke of how his face was becoming flushed. "A tiny replica of me has decided to join in the celebrations." There I was, caught in a fit of laughter, maybe just a tad too much. "Your kind words mean a lot to me." His face turned a deeper shade of crimson, and I decided to let the matter lie. As he stepped into view, the sight of him in his damp shorts ignited that familiar thrill within me. After Christmas, I found yet another reason to postpone things. A sauna I had selected as a gift for my own delight. Noah took it upon himself to manage the setup, and I made sure to stay close by as he carried out his work. I stood in the doorway, dressed in a crop top and shorts, watching him as he carefully tightened the screws with precision. "Oh, Mr. Handyman," I whispered, letting my fingers glide softly along his arm. "How will I ever express my gratitude to you?" He let out a dismissive chuckle, but I noticed the brief flicker of his gaze wandering down to my legs before he shifted his focus back to the instructions. I let it hang in the air for a moment before pulling back. As the sun rose on the day after the construction was complete, I turned to him with a question. Would he like to join me in testing it out? He hesitated for a heartbeat, but I encouraged him, saying, "Come on. You brought this to life. One ought to find joy in the experience." That accomplished the task. With a pair of shorts and a tank top, I stepped into the day, relishing the liberating feeling of shedding my constraints, just enough to keep the energy of the game alive. He came in wearing gym shorts, his shirt absent, embodying a man instead of the boy I once nurtured. As we settled into the warmth of the sauna, our legs brushed against one another, and a flutter of excitement stirred within me. I reclined and said, "You've truly crafted something remarkable in here. Are you absolutely sure there's nothing more I can provide?" With a twinkle in his eye, he said, "I find myself facing quite the dilemma that you might be able to assist me with." I blinked, momentarily caught off guard, but before I could find my voice, he brushed it aside with a casual wave of his hand. I was merely spinning a tale. Of course, I believed our visitor had come back. With a playful twinkle in my eye, I cast a glance at his shorts. His gaze flickered to my chest for a brief instant, but that was all it took to send a shiver coursing over my skin. "It appears you have company in the art of entertaining," he replied, his eyes lingering on the silhouette of my form against the fragile substance. I stood tall, attempting to conceal the flutter of nerves behind a casual smile. I wasn't quite certain who I was captivating an audience, whether for him or for my own sake. After a workout, it's something that often happens. The timer chimed, breaking the serene silence that enveloped the moment. He stepped forward first, and I followed closely, our bodies gently grazing against one another as we made our way out. He lingered in. "Location. Maybe I'll join you for a workout next time," he said, a grin lighting up his face. "I would hold that dear," I reply, but the words felt imbued with a significance that transcended their mere utterance. Purpose. That night, I lay in bed, a sense of restlessness wrapping around me like a heavy cloak. A part of me longed to pause, to draw a line and retreat to the comfort of the known. Yet another part ached for the exhilarating rush of venturing forth. Limits, filled with a thirst for adventure, yearning to uncover the extent of my journey before something, as it always does, shattered the illusion. I had no desire to bring it up, especially not in the way it came to light. Yet, after all that had unfolded, playful jests, the sauna encounters, the lingering Gazessi found it impossible to. As he gazed out, a familiar feeling washed over him, beginning deep within the essence of the home. While I rinsed the dishes, I was still dressed in my tank top and shorts, the echoes of my morning workouts lingering around me. Holding on tightly, Noah moved behind me to grab a glass, and for a fleeting moment, our arms touched. It was nothing, yet it lingered, a subtle weight that unveiled its significance, proving it was no mere incident. I lingered for a brief instant, a rush of warmth coloring my cheeks. I stayed rooted in my place. "Today, you certainly have a way of making an impression," he remarked, a hint of an awkward smile playing on his lips. I chuckled lightly, yet deep down, a tension was brewing within me. "So you took note, did you?" I reply, working to keep my composure. "Mood. It presents a bit of a challenge to stay clear of that." In that instant, the course of everything shifted. He paused, as if sifting through a treasure trove of thoughts, then asked with a nonchalant air, though it was evident he was uncertain of the limits of his expression, which elements met expectations, and which ones did not quite measure up. The air felt heavy, as if it had been siphoned off, leaving behind a disquieting stillness that hung in the space like a forgotten secret. He ventured to seek permission, delving into the depths, and I could no longer pretend that this was simply a creation of my mind. Ultimately, I proclaimed, words carry no weight. Let your thoughts flow freely, sharing whatever arises in your mind. If anything dares to cross the line, We shall merely deem it a misguided attempt at wit and continue our journey undeterred. He seemed to embody a blend of relief and anxiety. I felt the storm of thoughts swirling in his mind, prompting me to delve a little deeper. What is the importance of touch? I asked. What is deemed appropriate in that context? He paused, a tightness gripping his throat as he swallowed. I'm filled with doubt. Let us speak candidly. Whenever something feels off, we speak up. No humor. No facades. That is the way we do things. When a sense of unease begins to creep in, we pause and reflect. There are no jokes. There's no masquerade here. He released a brief, anxious chuckle, but he nodded in affirmation. Indeed. I comforted myself with the thought that it was simply innocent, a playful agreement crafted between two souls who had long nurtured a profound connection. Yet, the moment held a significance that transcended the ordinary. My stomach twisted in knots as I confronted the dishes, pretending not to notice the intensity of his gaze resting upon me. It wasn't long before we would put everything to the test. As the night deepened, I found myself loading the dishwasher when suddenly, I felt his hand brush against my hip. Quick, but with purpose, I sprang up, crashing right into him. He held his position firmly. Instead, he lingered for a moment, and the air around us became thick with tension, as if time itself had paused. I looked up at him, my eyes wide with unspoken thoughts. It seems someone is feeling quite daring, I noted, my voice slipping into a deeper register than I had meant. He replied that it was fine, but the expression on his face revealed a different tale. I shot a furtive look back, a hint of mischief in my gaze, before I turned away. Still, the warmth clung to me, refusing to fade even after he had slipped away to mingle with his companions. That evening, I delved into my closet, unearthing skirts, dresses, and tops that had remained untouched for years. I yearned for his gaze to fall upon me. An undeniable call stirred within me, urging me to press on in my quest. As the first light of a new day broke, I embarked on my quest to do just that. As I descended the stairs, I donned a tailored blouse and skirt that had long been tucked away in the depths of my wardrobe. I whispered to myself that it was merely for my own sake, a tiny act of defiance against the sensation of being unseen. Just the perfect number of buttons left undone to ignite the imagination. He lingered in the kitchen, clad in little more than a dream, his eyes heavy with the remnants of slumber. I playfully remarked that my outfit was a bold fashion statement. He chuckled, yet we were both aware of the unspoken tension that lingered, the sort that was better left alone. He smiled, but I noticed the slight shift in his eyes. He had stopped his playful banter. As he walked past, his hand brushed against my lower back, and I leaned into the sensation, subtly signaling my approval. The days that followed danced to a well-known cadence of delicate gestures, lingering looks, and comments that playfully brushed against the edges of the uncharted territory we both knew was wiser to leave unexplored. As he ventured forth with increasing courage, I too found myself stepping into that same boldness. "You're going to get me in trouble," he said one evening, a hint of mischief in his voice as I bent down to pick something up from the floor. "Perhaps I wish to," I reply, straightening my posture and turning to face him with determination. "You look nice," he said, his words stumbling out with a hint of shyness. I chuckled and brushed it aside. Yet the compliment hung in the air, echoing longer than it ought to have. As the week came to an end, it transformed into something deeper than simple remarks or accidental touches. It was embraces that lingered too long, a gentle collision in the corridors where ample room existed. His hands glided over my hips as he leaned in to grab something, and with each touch, I felt that exhilarating thrill, a wave of warmth and intrigue that sparked my longing for more. Yet we found ourselves retreating time and again. We would laugh, exchange a playful quip, and carry on as though nothing had happened. It appeared we were both hesitant, pondering the consequences of what awaited us if we decided against taking action. Yet, Neither of us desired to see it conclude. Not right now. I don't know what's happening, he admitted one night as we lounged on the couch, pretending to be captivated by the television flickering before us. I resonated with that feeling. Me too. Yet it brings a certain joy. Indeed, he remarked, his gaze locked onto the screen. But his thoughts appeared to wander into distant realms. Truly, it does. We set forth with a shared sense of freedom, unbound by commitments and untouched by conclusions, a quiet agreement, an unspoken bond to endure, to keep the light-hearted exchanges flowing, all in the quest to uncover the journey it may reveal. In the midst of my determination to keep a cheerful demeanor, I couldn't help but reflect on how long we could hold back. That evening took me by surprise. It revealed itself in surprising ways. And maybe that was exactly why it became so captivating to pause. In the warm embrace of the living room, it was just the two of us, wrapped in a comforting silence that spoke volumes. The television cast its shimmering light, but neither of us found ourselves captivated by its allure. My legs rested, gracefully extended over his lap, as he lost himself in thought, tracing soft, circular patterns around my ankle. While it wasn't our first encounter in such a place, an undeniable change hung in the atmosphere this time. He spoke with utmost sincerity, devoid of any trace of humor or ridicule. I wasn't, too. The atmosphere was heavy with unvoiced tension, a palpable burden that lingered in the space between us. Yet, neither of us summoned the courage to shatter the stillness. It was only when Noah finally exhaled that the stillness enveloped the moment. Lay in pieces. He wove his words gently, a tapestry of uncertainty unfolding before us. I'm perplexed. What is it that you desire? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. As I navigate through the twists and turns of the unfolding events, a sense of bewilderment washes over me, bringing with it a wave of considerable distress. I pulled my legs close, sitting tall to meet his eyes. His gaze wandered, not focused on me. His gaze was firmly fixed upon the earth beneath him. His hands gripped his knees, as though he were searching for equilibrium. I wasn't the only one, I revealed. My voice flowed like a gentle breeze, wrapping around the room, its delicate softness resonating, even though it barely rose above a whisper. I have been striving to uncover it as well. At long last, he shifted his gaze in my direction. In that fleeting instant, I caught a glimpse of something raw and fervent in his gaze, a feeling that wound itself tightly within my core. Am I the only one navigating this path? Or do others share this journey with me? He asked. I promise you, this is not a mere illusion of my creative vision. No, I replied. Indeed, you are not. We found ourselves wrapped in silence once again, but this time it felt even deeper, burdensome. It felt like walking a tightrope, where even the slightest misstep in words could send everything tumbling down. I should have wrapped it up right then, dismissed it, changed the subject. But instead, I discovered I find myself unable to do so. I felt no inclination to. I feel as though I'm losing my mind, he said, running. A hand swept through his hair. In the quiet corners of my mind, I often find myself lost in thoughts of us, reflecting on this peculiar realm we've stumbled upon together. I do not. I understand what it signifies, and that sends a shiver down my spine. My breath caught in my throat, leaving me momentarily at a loss for words. But when I finally managed to speak, the words spilled forth uncontrollably, escaping before I could hold them back. Within, I emphasized, you're not alone in this. My journey has reflected that feeling. His eyes widened, as though the words had ensnared him. Utterly unprepared, to my astonishment, I discovered that I was speaking the words aloud, and as soon as they slipped from my lips, there was no turning back. I'm at a loss with it, he remarked. His voice had taken on a gentler quality now. It's weaving illusions upon my imagination. Half the time, I feel a deep longing to break free from the walls of this room, aching for a moment of quietude. Your essence lingers in my mind, and in the other half, I find myself captivated by the echoes of your memory. His voice dwindled. Yet he grasped his meaning with clarity. My skin burned with a fierce heat, and my heart pounded with a wild intensity, as if it were broadcasting its frantic rhythm for him to hear. There was a moment when words danced on the tip of my tongue, a chance to weave a different ending, to acknowledge the truth that lay before us. Yet, in that stillness, I chose silence, allowing the story to unfold without my voice. It sends a shiver down my spine. I reply, yet it also. A chill of dread enveloped. There I stood, caught in a moment of hesitation, my mind wrestling with the reluctance to finish the thought. Deep down, I understood that I could not weave a tale of deception for him or for myself. I admit that it fills me with a sense of vitality. The hush wrapped around us, and for a brief instant, neither of us spoke a word, nor settled back, letting his head sink into the embrace of the couch. With a gentle touch, he caressed his face, then shifted his eyes to meet mine once more. What is it that you seek? What are we doing here on this planet? I confessed honestly, a hint of uncertainty in my voice. Yet my spirit remains unyielding. Unwilling to pause. He looked at me with an intensity that suggested he was on a journey, searching for something elusive, maybe a nod of approval, or a whisper of the comfort he sought. A balm for his troubled thoughts. Yet all I could provide was the stark reality laid bare. We cannot continue to sidestep this issue indefinitely. When something seems to teeter on the brink, we shall pause and declare it clearly, without any games or confusion. He nodded, but the storm within his eyes was undeniable, and to be honest, I sensed it too. Uncertainty hung in the air, casting a shadow over how much longer we could uphold the playful pretense. Yet, in that fleeting instant, this was the essence of my desire. I longed for the way his gaze intertwined with mine, igniting a tempest of emotions within me. I should go to bed, he declared abruptly, rising to his feet and brushing a hand through his hair. Through his hair, truly, I uttered words, yet neither of us took a step forward. He paused for a brief instant, as they awaited my response. I chose to hold my tongue. As he finally turned and walked away, I found myself in solitude, wrestling with my thoughts, pondering if what we had was already beyond mending. The night lingered on, filled with an uneasy awareness. I tossed and turned, the conversation echoing in my mind, its details fading into a fog of doubt and confusion. A wave of relief swept through me, as if a great weight had been lifted now that all was laid bare. Yet another part of me sensed, weighed down like never before. I had crossed a threshold, one that existed only in the depths of my imagination, and I discovered myself at her. Grief for the journey back to the other side. As dawn broke, I stumbled upon Noah in the heart of the kitchen. He stood at the counter, fully dressed, cradling a warm cup of coffee in his hands. As the morning light streamed through the window, he looked up as I stepped inside, and for a brief instant, silence wrapped around us. Yet, there was a lack of tension, a striking difference from the previous night. In the stillness, a hush envelops all. "Morning," he said, his whispered like a gentle breeze. "Greetings to you this fine morning." With a gentle touch, I extended my hand towards the mug, pouring its contents with precision, all the while focusing on keeping my hand steady. His gaze fell upon me, igniting a flutter in my heart. But this time, I held my composure steady. This time, it will be different. As he started to weave the tale of last night, I found myself unable to hold back and interrupted him. A conversation is truly essential for us to embark on this journey together. I turned to face him, setting my cup down. Yet we must also welcome the truth within ourselves. He nodded, but a flicker of anxiety danced across his face. hinting at his uncertainty about the words that might spill from my lips. In all honesty, I found myself grappling with uncertainty too. But beneath it all, I realized that we could no longer keep up the pretense that nothing was happening. It was clear as day. With a heavy heart, I proclaimed my inability to endure the mere idea of losing you, no matter the situation at hand. You won't, he declared, swiftly moving nearer. I absolutely promise. However, we must not persist along this journey, regardless of its nature. Though my voice quivered, I pressed on with determination. It impacts us both, and I will not permit it to escalate to a point of no return. What shall our next adventure be? He asked, his voice quivering just a bit, evoking a deep sense of sadness within me. We set boundaries, authentic ones, without question. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to hold their gaze. End all communication. Put an end to the light-hearted banter. Should either of us feel the stirrings of a boundary nearing, we shall voice our thoughts. Indeed. Quite well. There is no way to overlook it. He nodded slowly, but the uncertainty in his eyes was clear to see. He hesitated to let go of whatever tethered us in this intricate dance of connection. Yet, a piece of me resonated with that sentiment. Nevertheless, I understood that it was essential for us to move forward and seek our path. I reached out, wrapping my fingers around his with a gentle grip. I wish for you to grasp that this has no connection to my emotions towards you. Your presence kindles a flame deep inside me. Understood. That moment will always be a vivid chapter in my mind's narrative. Yet, this cannot be the journey through which I reclaim that feeling once more. I must seek out what lies just out of reach, beyond the boundaries of this home, beyond our limits. His shoulders relaxed just a touch. Finally, after what felt like an eternity apart, I laid my eyes upon the boy I had lovingly raised, the one who entrusted me with their faith. Leaning against me, they looked up with wide eyes, filled with wonder. Not the man who had been looking at me as though I were an unfamiliar face. With a gentle grip, he acknowledged my feelings, squeezing my hand in response. My feelings resonate beautifully with yours. Words eluded me, leaving me in a quiet struggle. We shall be just fine, I proclaimed, and deep down, I held that belief with all my heart. Yet, it is crucial that we safeguard its continued existence in that condition. He wrapped his arms around me, a comforting and familiar gesture, as though we had experienced this moment together many times in the past, just like all those who have walked this path before. Yet, as he stepped back, an undeniable change hung in the atmosphere. More lively, it was as if we had finally let go of the weight that had held us captive for weeks. Afterward, he set off to meet up with some friends. As I stood before the mirror, I paused to fully take in the image that stared back at me, not just at my body, but at everything that envelops it. The soft glow of my eyes, the way my hair flowed gracefully around my shoulders, the glow of my skin, effortlessly radiant even in its purest form. After countless years, I finally uncovered a profound sense of beauty within myself, in great demand. It was entirely unrelated to Noah. Not exactly. It was a result of his talent for conjuring the feeling of being truly observed. In that fleeting moment, I made a promise to myself. I would hold on to that sensation with all my might, refusing to let it fade into the shadows. I would unveil ways to nurture its essence, amidst new experiences, captivating characters, and maybe even the spark of a romance when the moment was just right. Yet, it would not be by his hand. It was an insurmountable challenge. As Noah stepped through the door that night, we effortlessly fell back into our well-worn routine, as if no time had passed at all. A meal shared, the glow of the screen, and light-hearted banter flowing effortlessly. For the first time, it felt like a breeze again, warm and inviting. It felt as though we had unearthed the very trail that brought us together once more, even if we had given up something along our path. As I lay back in bed that night, a multitude of thoughts danced through my mind, every single one resonating with the inquiry. What if? Imagine the possibilities that unfold before us. What if we let it reveal itself even further? What if we had dared to cross that threshold? What if the part of me that craved knowledge remained, always present, never fully retreating into the shadows? Veils of uncertainty shroud my journey, yet I remain keenly attuned to the complex tapestry of my circumstances. This is why I'm driven to share this tale. Perhaps there is a soul out there with a viewpoint I have yet to explore. If you have faced a situation like this, or know someone who has, I would truly value your thoughts. There are moments when understanding slips through our fingers, especially when we are deeply immersed in the chaos around us. May this stand as a heartfelt reminder. Isolation often guides you to unforeseen places. Proceed with care before you step across a threshold from which there is no coming back. Your openness to listen is truly valued. Share your thoughts freely, for they hold great worth.